If the meeting can come to order, please. I'm calling the today's meeting to order. It's May the 18th. It is 10 a.m. This is South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs monthly commission meeting. Is Commissioner Blackwood online? She's going to do our notice of meeting statement. Commissioner Blackwood? You have a copy of it? Michelle, will you read that for Robin, so Robin can't get it through? She's gonna bring it to you. Chrissy will bring it. I do need to make sure that they can get through. If we have to call them online, we need to get them on the phone.
Yeah, make sure they can see it.
Go ahead.
Chairwoman, this is David Thomas. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Commissioner Thomas. I haven't been able to hear Commissioner Blackwood yet.
Okey-doke. I just want to make sure you had me on.
All right, Michelle Woodhead is going to read the notice of meeting statement in lieu of Commissioner Blackwood.
Statement of announcement, a meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the May 18th, 2023 commission meeting was distributed May 16th, 2023 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. Americans with Disabilities Act. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodhead. Have we been able to get Commissioner Blackwood?
Here, we're just working on her sound.
Okay, that's fine. If you will, just let us know as we move forward. My name is Stephanie Rollins, and I do want to welcome you all this morning. We don't have any guests. We do have a guest speaker, however, and we'll let her introduce herself when it's her time on the agenda. But today is Employee Appreciation Day, or it's Employee Appreciation Week at DDSN, and so we will have some updates there. I'm glad to be back with you all. I appreciate Commissioner Malfris, y'all forgive me, filling in for me last time while I was out having surgery.
My pleasure.
Very good job. I appreciate that. We have an agenda in front of us. I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. The agenda is in front of you. We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion carries and the agenda is adopted. I'm going to give the invocation today. If you will, I'll bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today as servants of your will and your works. Lord, we ask you to guide us and direct us. Lord, we thank you for our employees at DDSN. We thank you for our staff and for giving them to us and allowing them to do the work of your kingdom. Lord, we ask you to be with our constituents and those that we serve as they are in need, Lord. And we do ask that you help guide us and direct us in your decisions, and that everything we do would be pleasing in your sight. Lord, we ask these things in your name and pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's see. We have minutes in your packet. Under tab 2, there are 2 sets of meeting minutes. One was the special call meeting. It was a public hearing on, I believe, a proposed policy, and that was on April 20th, 2023. And then we had a commission meeting as well on April 20th, 2023. Both of those minutes are in your packet under tab 2, commissioners. If you will take a look and see if there's any changes or additions that need to be made. If not, I need a motion to approve the minutes. And if we could approve them both at one time, that would be great.
I've read them and I'll make a motion. We approve them. There's no rush, just might want to look at something, but I'll make a motion to approve both at the same time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor on the minutes, and that's to approve both sets, Barry?
Yes.
To approve both sets of minutes. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved. All right, let's go through the commissioners' updates. Commissioner Cohar?
I've had some conversations with a couple of constituents, and apparently the rules of ADA are not being enforced very well in the public sector, and I did not know what to do about it. I did give her the number to call, one of them the number to call, and I don't know if anything happened or not, but I'm surprised that people are still not understanding what handicap means and how they should be done, and it's just sad that there's still problems there.
There are a lot of problems there, and that is, ADA is a federal law. I always recommend they call Disability Rights of South Carolina, because they are an advocacy agency. And I would definitely get that phone number, and refer people to them and tell them, they're a legal entity that's supposed to be handling that kind of thing.
Thank you.
So,
I'll do that.
yeah. Commissioner, Miller, I'm sorry. I'm having a time today. Y'all have to forgive me. All this medication they got me on. Go ahead.
Good morning to all. This weekend, we are having Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Legacy Festival in Maysville, South Carolina, where my wife is the mayor, and she's also the grandniece of Dr. Bethune. And Director Constance Holloway will be in the parade. And so will, I think we'll have a booth as well promoting South Carolina disabilities and special needs. And we welcome all to come out and enjoy.
That's great.
We're gonna have candy, I'm gonna throw some candy.
Yeah, make sure you're close by.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's good. That's good.
I will probably be driving her. I have a mule and a wagon.
Oh, that's great. I would love to see that. That might be worth making a trip for. Commissioner Woodhead.
Yeah, I have just an announcement. So this, past month, the Junior Rolling Tigers, which is a junior wheelchair basketball team, took home the national title. So they won, which is a great accomplishment, especially for South Carolina. So putting us on the map for our junior wheelchair, basketball players. So that was really, really exciting. So just want to give them a shout out.
Very good. Very good. Commissioner, Malphurs.
I just wanted to say that for anybody that doesn't know, the bill to make the commission a cabinet agency did not pass. And we will, things will be as they are now for into the foreseeable future at least. So at least into next year. So we are as normal, if anybody doesn't know that.
Thank you, Commissioner Malphurs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas.
No comments.
Do we have Commissioner?
Stephanie?
Yeah, I hear you,
Stephanie.
Commissioner Blackwood. Welcome. We're glad to have you. All right.
Thanks. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
That's all right.
I don't have an update for today, but thank you.
Okay. I do want to touch base with you all about a couple of things. One, Christy Lingard, our executive assistant, did let me know that we had some providers that for some reason did not receive their email notice about this meeting. While we do that as a courtesy, it's not required. We did post this online. It is our regular third Thursday meeting time and date and location. But it was posted online and it was sent out. There were 3 providers who did not receive their email. If you're a provider who is online who did not receive your email, please let Christy Lingard know so that she can check and make sure your email address is correct. We went back and looked, and the 3 that did not receive it, their email was correct and it was sent to them. So we don't know what's going on with the email system, but if you did not receive your monthly notice about this meeting for any reason, please let Christy at the central office know. Couple of things. I have one of the things that I've really enjoyed, in my time with DDSN is getting to know the parents guilds at our regional centers and spending time with them and talking with them, working with them to try to get projects done at those regional centers, because it seems that things have been put off for many, many years. I did receive an email from Annette Green, or a text message from Annette Green down at our Coastal Center, PGA. They will be having an annual memorial service that they hold every year in memory of those that have passed on who either worked at Coastal Center or have lived at Coastal Center. It will be held on May the 24th at 2 p.m. in the gazebo. And they encourage anyone that would like to attend to attend. Unfortunately, I'm tied up that day and will not be able to go. But if there's any commissioners that serve that district, I know Barry, you and
I'm gonna try to get,
you and Ed both serve that district. So if y'all would like to go down on the 24th at 2 p.m., it will be at the gazebo at Coastal Center. And I know that any legislator that would like to visit that center, I'm sure they would love to have legislators come. So anyone who would like to, we hope that you will take the time to go visit with them. As you all know, I had plenty of time on my hands for the last 2 months. I've been sitting, trying to heal. So, and I sent this to Constance yesterday, but I put together a list of ongoing projects that we basically have been doing and working on since I started as the chairman of the commission. I'm going to pass these around to you all. I'll pass a couple this way because I want you all to have a copy of the list in case I'm not here. So that you guys can do an ongoing. And Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Blackwood, I will send both of you a copy of this so that you'll have it. It's basically a list of projects that we've been working on, that we have been doing oversight on for the last 2 to 3 years. And these are things that we kind of need to do some follow-up on and do some oversight, because that's what our job, what our job is to do oversight on things that we start. So I asked Constance to have the staff begin working on this and try to get us an update. Maybe at our next meeting, we can add these things to the agenda. And so that you all can have an update before I leave office and before I leave the commission, so that you all will have and know where we are and where we stand and things you all need to follow up on. Okay, so everybody has a copy. If there are things that you know that I went through my notes and made this. So if you all have things in your notes that you have not, that we have not updated or kept, just done a regular update on in a while, if you will add those to it and send them to me or send them to Constance so that we can make sure we do that. Am I right, Constance? And that way we make sure we have a comprehensive update as to where we are as we're transitioning into a new fiscal year. Okay. All right. So that is that public input. Do we have anybody at the last minute, Christy? No public input today. I always hate that. I hope that people will take the time to call in, or you can call in or come in and visit with us. And we love to hear from you, hear what's happening in your areas. I was fortunate enough this morning to receive it's called PD's Juice Journal. And that it's from the PD Center. They put out a little booklet every month, which I think is just amazing. And I hope that you all will take the time. It's got great photos, birthdays, things that are happening at the PD Center. And so if you live in one of the areas that has a regional center, I hope that you'll make contact with your executive directors there and get a copy of this. Find out what's happening in your regional centers, and so that you can keep up with what's happening in the areas. All right. Next, programs and services. Today, we're fortunate. We have the State Museum with us. We have, hang on a minute, Laura Ebora Kane with us, and she's the Manager of Education Interpretation. I want to welcome you, Laura. And I would like to also say thank you for all that you have been doing in helping us have our special mornings over at the at the museum. It's just been amazing, and we just really appreciate you all taking that initiative and putting our folks forward and having those events for them. Come up and introduce yourself and everything you have going on over at the State Museum.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
We absolutely love our partnership with DDSN. It's been really eye-opening and extremely necessary as well as we start on all of these really great projects. Like she said, my name's Laura, and I'm your manager of education and interpretation at your state museum. Now, interpretation at a museum does not mean foreign language. It means looking at the exhibitions and everything we've got, and how are people interacting with that? How are they interpreting it, and how are we engaging different folks? So, let's see, we have the PowerPoint up. Good. Good. The big event for us that you just mentioned was, of course, our accessibility mornings. Here we go. And those are absolutely free to everyone attending. They are the second Saturday of every single month. Without fail, from 9 to 11 a.m. They're for all ages and all abilities, and we do offer a free select sensory show for our friends who might have, auditory processing disorders and things like that. And that show is either in the planetarium or the 4D theater. Then we do have a free museum highlights tour with ASL interpretation and all kinds of other cool stuff that I'm going to show you pictures about rather than just telling you about. So, it'll work.
I can move it.
Okay, next slide. So the first one is some of our community partners. Again, big thanks to DDSN, always there, always representing, always bringing really cool stuff for our families and our kids. This is our Halloween event. So this is the USC Autism Society table, doing some really fun things. Our Halloween event's really, really fun. We invite all of the families and kids to dress up, and we have some really cool things going on. Next slide is of our ASL interpreters. So we are the only planetarium that we know of in the entire world who has taken on the challenge of attempting to do ASL interpretation. When we started this, the first thing we'd hear from people is, did you call other planetariums? Why, yes, that is the first thing we did. And no one could provide us any kind of assistance. No one was doing it. So we've been, for the past 6 months, Liz, the planetarium manager, and I, working with different ASL interpreters, trying to figure out how do you do ASL in a planetarium where you can't light someone up because it messes up the stars in the sky. Then you can't see the stars, so the whole show's ruined. So we've come up with a really neat system of red lights and umbrellas behind them and everything. Our ASL tours that are going on, and just having ASL interpretation throughout all of this accessibility mornings. It's been really great to see all of our guests come in and really feel seen and accessible now. So our next slide is, of course, our sensory calming room, which has been really amazing. It's really fun. Our friends at the Behavior Co. help us with that. We've also had some input from DDSN and other folks about different materials to purchase for the space. The child you see there is mine. She does have her own sensory processing disorders, and she's kind of the museum mascot. She's the one kid we can always get a photo release for. So she's on basically everything. But our really great sensory calming room that we've got with our new light blocks that move. We have a tent that you can go into to calm, kind of get your own little space if you need to, different bubble tubes and calming zones and everything. And we keep improving that space as well. Our next slide is of everyone's favorite, the character reading. And so this is also ASL interpreted. Every accessibility morning, we have a character come in. It's always a storybook or literacy character. And this past month was Maisie the Mouse. Again, my child, she's a huge Maisie fan. She was excited to get her book signed by Maisie. So we always have a character come in and meet the kids. And this is a really unique sensory experience because some of our students, some of our children, when they started with us, they didn't want to go anywhere near the character. And now over the past 6 months or a few years, they've built up to the point where they're taking pictures with them, they're high-fiving, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I can tell you that anytime Curious George or Pete the Cat are in the building, that's a big autograph day. So get ready for that. Our next slide is just a list of our resources that we've been building up the past year. So, we've got about 60 noise canceling headphones in the building, both for our campers and our students and guests that come in. We have developed sensory bags with the help of a lot of our partners. We do have wheelchairs on site, first come, first serve. We would love to get a different type of wheelchair, but we've just got the basic ones for now. a series of fidget tools. We don't call them toys, we call them tools in our museum. Weighted lap pads for the theaters, just in case you need some sensory input, wobble cushions in case you're getting a little fidgety and you gotta move a little bit. Assistive listening devices in the planetarium and the 4D theater. Open captioning in the planetarium, which was really great for us to get. Closed captioning devices in the 4D theater, descriptive audio in the 4D theater as well. Portable magnifiers for guests who are visually impaired. And then our new thing that I'm really excited about is we do have an on-site wellness room now. So if anyone needs any sort of basic first aid, we have a special room to go to. It has a nursing table on there and everything. We've got some basic first aid supplies, including feminine hygiene and everything. So we've got a nice room for our campers and our students in-house to go to, but also for your general visitor. If someone's having a migraine or just not feeling well, we have a space for them to go. We have a therapy lamp in there and everything. And our brand new bathrooms, upgraded, ADA accessible. You know, we're just working on it. We're chugging along. Every time we see something or someone brings something up, we're like, put it on the list. Let's get it done. So our new executive director has been absolutely wonderful and amazing at just saying, let's get it. Let's fix it. We do believe as your state museum that we are representing everyone and that you should see yourself here. And if you can't experience the museum, then it's not yours. So we have to make it yours too. Our next slide actually shows all of our education team trainings, which is unique to the State Museum. Our education team goes through a great deal of training working with individuals who have a variety of disabilities. We are all CPR and first aid certified through the American Heart Association. We go through a Deaf Friendly Learning series, and we all know about 20 different ASL signs. And we're expanding that to full staff. So every month during our staff meeting, everyone learns something new. We have a planetarium and observatory. So our latest one was learning how to say stars. So we could get people over there. We all go through mandated reporter training with the USC Law School, autism awareness training with DDSN. Stephanie's doing that for us in a couple of weeks as well. Classroom strategies for children with autism, ADHD, anxiety, or other sensory processing disorders with the Behavior Code. They come in and help us with tools in the classroom. Unconscious bias training with USC's Collaborative on Race. We do a special parent mentor session. We hear from caregivers who have children with disabilities, so our staff can start to garner more empathy for the situation. Who's on the other side of this child? So they come in and talk to us. And then, of course, curator tours and training with me about what it's like to go through these exhibits and help folks go through them who might have disabilities. Our next slide, our second last one, is really special and important. This is our Disability Pride Day. This is coming up July 8th. We could use everyone's help. If you want to email me, if you want to get in touch with us somehow, I would love to have you over there with us. We do have Zot Art coming, and those are the pictures you see. He is an artist who develops art tools, adaptive art tools that connect to wheelchairs and walkers and all sorts of things. So everyone's going to participate in this really wonderfully huge community art mural at the museum. You'll be able to take your own piece of artwork home as well. And then we'll have a big piece for the museum too. And we're going to put them on the walls and everything and make kinds of cards out of them. So it's going to be really great. All kinds of community partners, again, DDSN there as well. A sensory room, we will have a silent disco and everything. So we've got a lot of really cool stuff happening that day. We are super excited, and we're still looking for people to join us. So if you want to come join us and do something cool, we would love to have you. And more than anything, if you could help us spread the word, that would be great. It is going to be a donation-based event. So, you know, the tickets are free if you need them to, or if you could donate something to the museum to help events like this happen, that would be great. But the intention is that the event itself is free or donation-based. And then our very last slide is just looking to the future, different things that we would like to do. IRA, if you haven't heard of it, they're visual interpretation services for the blind. So essentially, a person could come on site to the museum, pull up IRA on their cell phone, and someone would walk them through the museum. So they'd essentially have an interpreter with them, sort of, if they were blind or visually impaired. So that's our big thing. If you know of a good, nice little $5,000 grant out there, let me know. That's all I need for that.
Actually, I did hear about something on the radio.
Well, you should send me a nice little message.
I'll do that.
Because that is,
501c3?
we are not. We have a 501c3. Our foundation is, though.
Oh, the foundation might do it.
They could do it. Okay, well, Stephanie, I'll email you later. We are anxious to become a culture city site sometime in the fall, and that is for autism services, Sunflower program, again, focusing on invisible disabilities. The Columbia Metropolitan Airport is a Sunflower site. one day getting our permanent sensory room, and of course, doing full staff trainings beyond just the education team for all of those things that we talked about. So we are going towards the future. We are excited, and we are so, so grateful and thankful for all of your help and support and everything we're doing. And we are open to suggestions and are willing to hear and change anything we're doing. Yeah. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Y'all have any questions?
I want to say you did a very good job.
Thank you.
On behalf of the museum.
Yes, we appreciate it. We really do appreciate your.
Oh, wait, I should put my card.
We appreciate you all working with us. Stephanie can always get hold of her if we need her, I'm sure. But thank you again for everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. We will be moving on to the Employee Recognition and Service Award Ceremony. Constance, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I over to you.
Sorry, Liz, come on.
So Morgan is going to present this morning, and then Constance and I are going to hand out the certificates as we flow through.
Good morning. It's been a year since I've seen you guys.
Yes, it has.
It has.
I thought that was the case when I saw you this morning. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. Thank you all. It's a great honor that our agency is able to serve some of South Carolina's most vulnerable population. Our vision, mission, values, and principles guide DDSN staff to perform the most vital of functions, and it is those staff members that I wish to recognize and celebrate today. We're privileged to have you here at DDSN and are incredibly thankful for your many years of steadfast dedication and faithful service to the citizens of South Carolina. Today, we celebrate your achievements and express our sincere appreciation for your continued commitment to the mission of DDSN. We are privileged to have you as part of the team, and we extend our heartfelt thanks for your unwavering support to the community we serve. At this time, I would like to recognize those employees who have reached their state service milestones during the 2022 calendar year. For those staff not present today, they will receive their state certificate and pin at a later time. At this time, I would recognize those with 10 years of state service, starting with Kimberly Adams Cochran, Executive Administrative Support. David Castro, Information Technology Development, who is not present today. Leanne Coleman, Head and Spinal Cord Injury, who is not present today. Constance Holloway, Legal.
Beautiful today.
Yeah. Teresa Linton, Head and Spinal Cord Injury, who is not present today. Lori Manos, Policy. Tom McDaniel, Regional Center Operations. Danelle Pinckney, Eligibility, who is not present today. Thank you for those with 10 years of state service. At this time, I would recognize those with 20 years of state service, starting with Melinda Fair, Clinical Services. Donna Lyles, Autism Community Training Homes, who's not present today. Gordon Shepard, Risk Management. Thank you to those with 20 years of state service. I would recognize those with 30 years of state service. Janet Priest, Operations. And lastly, I would recognize those with 40 years of state service. Maxine Bradley, Information Technology Development, who is not present today. During the employee appreciation events held at the regional centers throughout this month, staff members who have reached their milestone year of state service during the 2022 calendar year were also recognized. We look forward to recognizing those who achieved their state service milestone in 2023 next May. The South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs thanks you again for your dedication and service to the citizens of South Carolina. And we're gonna swap out and grab our employee of the year. Perfect. As South Carolina public servants are recognized every May, it is only fitting to honor and congratulate the employees of the year for each respective regional center and the autism community training homes. These employees exemplify the agency's vision, mission, and values, and have far exceeded the expectations of their positions. Each regional center and community training homes employees of the year will be awarded a bonus and certificate. I would invite Tom McDaniel, Director of Facility Operations, to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. As we come to the end of the public health emergency and continue our efforts to normalize operations, I would like to acknowledge these nominees and the respective teams they represent for their steadfast dedication and excellence over the previous year. These nominees and their teams have and continue to endure a tough operating environment, severely stressed by a tight labor market, a dynamic care setting, and the ever-present scrutiny and high standards demanded of the intermediate care facility model and autism residential services. Nominees, thank you for your partnership and support to our families, guardians, and consumers, as well as your personal sacrifice and the sacrifices of your loved ones who also serve through their support to you. We're extremely grateful to have people of your caliber leading the charge. I encourage you to spread your principles of success with subordinates, peers, and leaders alike. Senior leaders, thank you for your stellar support to the centers and autism operations. Your efforts are critical to our service delivery and the greater workforce these nominees represent. I look forward to your continued support and investment as we continuously strive to improve and continue the work at hand. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I would recognize the Coastal Regional Center Employee of the Year, Karen Haggerty. I invite Dr. Michelle Zilla, Coastal Regional Center Facility Administrator, to speak with you about Ms. Haggerty.
Good morning, everyone. Karen Haggerty, Karen. Karen has worked with Coastal Center following her master's degree at Appalachian State University for 33 years. So she has dedicated herself to our population of vulnerable adults. She is a wealth of experience with regards to behavioral support plans as well as psychotropic medications. She assists those that are coming in new. She also works with all the medical professionals and visiting psychiatrists that we have from MUSC to make sure that the medication regimes that we provide for our special needs individuals are the ones that are least restrictive and most beneficial. She recently, when I moved up into the FA position, she took over as the Director of Mental Health. And I really appreciate that. She has never really wanted that position. She's been very clear with me, but she was the one that was best suited for that position. So she not only increased her caseload, but she also increased her administrative duties. And I am extremely thankful for her. And I know that she exemplifies what we are looking in all of our employees at the centers, which is someone who is passionate and compassionate for our vulnerable adults. So thank you, Karen, for your service.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This this time, I would recognize the Midlands Regional Center Employee of the Year, LaToya Tillman. I invite Jean Bowman, Midlands Center Facility Administrator, to speak with you about Ms. Tillman.
Good morning. Ms. Tillman has been a long-term employee with Midland Center. She's at DSP 3 in our Juniper unit at Midland Center. She is loved and highly respected by the people she supports, the staff she supervises, coworkers, and management staff. She's very dedicated. She comes by and calls on her days off. And, she's one in a million is all I can say. So she definitely deserves the recognition that she's receiving. Thank you.
I would recognize the PD Regional Center Employee of the Year, Lorinda Dixon. I invite Adria Davis, PD Facility Administrator, to speak with you about Ms. Dixon.
Good morning. Lorinda has been at PD Center for over 30 years. She's a DSP 3 at PD Regional Center. Lorinda is very active and engaged in all the activities and everything that goes on at PD Center. She has monthly birthday parties for her residents where she invites the parents and they have a wonderful time. She has a big Christmas and Thanksgiving celebration that she do on campus for the residents. They love her. A lot of residents trying to get to her unit, but I said, we don't have enough space there for her. But she's an advocate for all the residents pretty much at PD Center. She's a team player and I enjoy working with Lorinda Dixon. And she's also a licensed minister. So she ministered out in the community also. So she's a wonderful DSP 3 and manager. I wish I can clone some more. I love her to death. Thank you.
I would recognize the Salibi Center Employee of the Year, Ava McNeil. I invite Van Chapman, Salibi Facility Administrator, to speak with you about Ms. McNeil.
Beside me today, I have a friend. This lady right here, I love her. She's been at Salibi Center for 17 years. She's worked in housekeeping and she recently transferred to dietary. I can remember one day, Miss Eva and I were in the courtyard at Salibi Center and she looked up at me and she said, I know I don't work directly hands-on with the consumers. She said, but I want to do the very best job I can to make sure that the home they live in is clean. I always look forward to when she cleaned my office. Like I said, she's a friend. It has been an honor and a pleasure to work with her. And we're very fortunate to have her. Congratulations.
I would recognize the Whitten Regional Center Employee of the Year, Lachey Anderson. I invite Craig Bird, Whitten Center Facility Administrator, to speak with you about Ms. Anderson.
Good morning. Michelle, they did say the best for last. Sorry, that's an inside joke between me and Michelle. Well, let me tell you, this young lady here, Lachey, is one of our superstars. She actually began working at Whitten Center in 2004, and I didn't realize that we could hire 10-year-olds back then to work for us. But she worked there for, I think, 6 years or at that time, and left to have a child. And that child happens to have autism. She's now 15 years old. And Lachey came back to us to work part-time in Unit 204, which is one of our medical units, and did a fantastic job. And then the opportunity came up for her to go to day programs. She went to day programs and comes to the same unit because she's got a lot of people in there that she truly loves. And what I've been told by the direct support manager is that Lachey, even though she's day program, she comes in, she gets folks up, gets them showered, all the things that she's not part of her job anymore, she jumps in and helps. And she's a very special person, and we are very lucky to have her at Witten Center. So thank you.
I did save the best for last. I would recognize the Autism Residential Operations Employee of the Year, Tonda Davis. I invite Joyce DeVoe, Interim Autism Program Manager, to speak with you about Ms. Davis.
Absolutely.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm incredibly grateful to be a part of recognizing some of the many team members who work closely with the people we are so privileged to support with their life goals and to be a part of their journey. Tonda Davis, many of you know, has an extensive history with our agency, and she's also worked out of state. She's worked with the Witten Center, Autism Eligibility, and now currently with Autism Residential Homes. When I was informed of this event and asked to play a part in preparation, I asked for her nomination letter. And I read it, and I was struck with the thought that had I not known who it was about, I would know exactly who it was about when I read it. And some of the things that were said about her were that the residents love her, that they say, we love Ms. Tonda, and she takes us to all of our doctor's appointments, and she helps us with everything we need to do. Her peers, along with the residents, parents, and managers all have great things to say about her. And I think that says a tremendous amount about her commitment and her dedication. One thing that really struck me about her that I know personally is that she has one resident who's in an SLP, and she really goes out of her way to make sure that that person is included. That person is very dedicated and very independent and can take care of their own needs. But during the holidays, Tonda always thinks about them and includes them in anything that's going on at the community training home. So I'm very delighted to speak about her today, and very delighted that I can see her receive this award. And congratulations to everyone here who is being honored, and all of the folks that we left back at the camp. Thank you.
Each of the employees of the year were nominated for the overall 2022 DDSN Employee of the Year Award. The nominations were presented to the executive team without names or working location to collect their votes. I am honored to announce that the overall 2022 South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Employee of the Year is LaToya Tillman. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Sorry about shaking. You're back. Okay.
This is very deserved. This lady is beloved by everyone at Midland Center ever since I got there. All I have heard is just wonderful things about this lady, and the consumers love her. She is just the most dedicated staff, and so I just could not be happier for her. Thank you.
They're gonna be so happy for me.
All right.
We want to thank those employees and those folks from our regional centers who came to help do those presentations, and congratulations to all of our employees of the year. We honor you and we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you've done and will continue to do for your consumers. All right, old business. Quarterly incident management report. Ann Dalton.
Morning.
Wait, if you, hold on just a second, because he may need to leave. If
Yeah,
they need-
sorry.
If they do, because I know we have a lot of employees here that are traveling, so if they need to, then I'll let them do that.
Legal Hunter are gonna be happy.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you're always welcome to stay, by the way, but I know that some of you need to travel.
Did you hear me scream in my office?
It's a little difficult to follow such great excitement here with information about incident management reporting. I'll do my best as we work through this together. So in your packets, you have some colorful charts that outline the incident management reporting through the third quarter of fiscal year 23. At this point, we've covered 3/4 of the year, and there have been 519 individual allegations of abuse, neglect, and exploitation among 354 reports. On an annualized basis, this number is a little higher for this past quarter. And if our current trends continue, we're looking at about a 25% increase in the number of allegations versus this time last year. While this number is high, I want to state that this would seem to suggest that our system is working as people are recognizing and reporting allegations of abuse. We don't want to criticize or penalize our providers for simply reporting higher numbers and discourage reporting in any way. As a better indicator of any maltreatment of individuals in our system, we do track the confirmation of arrest and standard of care violations. And we have 9 arrests for this fiscal year reported thus far and 121 verified standard of care allegations. So those are non-criminal events where the state long-term care ombudsman has verified some sort of improper conduct or treatment with the individuals.
Now that's in our community-based services?
Yes. There have been 822 critical incidents in our
Let
system.
me verify something real quick. On the community-based services, those are provided by our providers. Those are not provided by DDSN, correct?
Correct. The community-based services are DDSN contracted.
Okay, so they're not necessarily people that we hire and fire. They're hired and fired by the providers, correct? Okay.
So there have been 822 critical incidents in our system, and this compares to prior years and the averages that we've seen thus far. Within the death reporting tracking, there have been 79 deaths reported within the past 9 months. This is also consistent with what we would expect at this time of year. So on the green charts, they represent the regional centers, which are the DDSN operated facilities. There have been 131 allegations of abuse reported for the regional centers in the past 9 months, with among 104 individual reports. There have been 6 arrests and 34 verified standard of care findings among these allegations. We have 114 critical incident reports and 17 deaths reported in the regional centers, and this data remains consistent with our established trends. As a whole, DDSN processes about 70 to 75 A&E reports and about 100 or more critical incident reports each month in our system. We're also reviewing about 15 to 20 death reports each month, but that also includes individuals who reside out in the community. As you recall, back in November, we had a change in our directive dealing with death reporting. So we are including individuals who live in their family homes in some of those numbers. This process includes a review of the actual incident as well as the provider's response and the actions that were taken. Reports are sometimes sent back and forth. So at any given time, we may have 30 to 40 reports that are floating around in our incident management system in some stage of review. And as the reports are sent back and forth for clarification, we do stress that the provider executive directors or their designees have attestations that they're submitting the reports with complete and accurate information. As a point of reference, DDSN continues to monitor the provider's compliance with A&E training for new and existing employees. This is an area that needs improvement, and we certainly recognize that. For the past year, 70% of DDSN's contracted employees or contracted providers were fully compliant with the requirement for A&E training for new employees. 68% of those DDSN contracted providers were compliant with A&E training for existing employees. So in addition to responding to those citations with a plan of correction related to the administrative compliance review conducted by Alliant, DDSN will be requiring evidence of the corrections among those providers. As an additional agency-wide corrective action, DDSN plans to include A&E training and associated competency-based testing in a learning management system that will be implemented in fiscal year 24. In addition, DDSN continues to work with providers regarding late reporting trends for A&E and critical incident reports. Late reports are often the result of communication issues within the provider agencies, but we do require plans of correction from those providers to address those issues. Timeliness for final reports has steadily improved over the past year. As another topic of interest, DDSN continues to participate in the National Core Indicator Surveys. And this is a nationwide project with 47 states that are participating. It allows South Carolina to compare our systems to other state systems. Our providers are currently participating in an in-person survey among service recipients where they're interviewed. And there's also a state of the workforce survey. So I'm trying to put in a plug for that. Our providers are actively completing that survey at this time. And that allows us to collect data about direct support service providers, including vacancy rates, rates of pay, bonus and incentive strategies, and recruitment efforts for providers. And the final thing that I'll say this morning is that you may be aware that there was an incident management directive that was circulated for public comment. As we were reviewing the comments from providers, we were also receiving information from the Administration for Community Living and from CMS regarding proposed rules that have just been released that are going to have very far-reaching implications on our system. They include expanded definitions for abuse and critical incidents. This is the first time there will be nationwide standardized definitions for different types of abuse, which will include verbal abuse and emotional abuse, which have not been previously defined in our Omnibus Adult Protection Act. This will also have policy implications. It will standardize the timelines for the completion of the initial and final reporting documents. There will be specific requirements for incident management systems that will ensure the interoperability among various agencies and also ensure transparency and public reporting of all of that data. So as we were receiving that information and receiving feedback from the providers, in concert with DHHS, the two agencies agreed it was best to step back for now and evaluate all of the information that is coming into us with these proposed rules being developed by CMS. We do participate in weekly meetings with the National Association and with our counterparts as the rules continue to be implemented.
Dan, wait, I got a couple questions. All right, so I'm sitting here reviewing, and obviously, A&E allegation resulting in criminal arrest. Last year we were at 4. This year we're at 12. Is there I mean, because we're supposedly doing more training. I know we funded more training. Is the training not working? Do we have a reason that we see that this has happened? Is it new employees? Is there a trend? I mean, is there a trend that we can follow to figure out what's leading to this?
We can train.
Not necessarily what's leading to the arrest, but what's leading to the abuse. I mean, is there anything we can do to?
We can train and train and train.
Yeah.
And obviously, we need to do more training, and we need to make sure that the providers are implementing the training that we have
Right.
available. But we also, I've talked before about the critical staffing shortages that exist. And it is a nationwide issue. There are workforce shortages. There are shortages among supervisors to come in and provide the oversight that's needed. And unfortunately, people bring their home life into situations as our workforce is dealing with a variety of other stressors, they're bringing that into the workforce. And, just like all of the other agencies that are out there, we're dealing with all of those challenges. We can't always prevent the negative behavior.
I just wondered if there was
They have
anything,
choices.
I just wondered if there's anything we could do. I mean, our hands are kind of tied. Can you explain to us the difference in criminal arrest and administrative findings? Because I know, we adopted a zero tolerance policy for abuse and neglect. What does that mean in terms for you and in terms for these regional center directors? Are they terminating for administrative findings? Are they just terminating for, because I know I had some parent skills ask me this question. And so this is a question, are they terminating for both? Are they just terminating if there's criminal? What are the results of, let's say, whatever an administrative finding is, what are the consequences? I guess is the word I'm looking for here. Can you help us with that?
So when there are substantiated allegations, they meet the criminal threshold for an arrest.
Okay.
Our policy requires termination whenever there has been a substantiated case of abuse.
Okay.
For the administrative allegations, they are deemed from the beginning, from that initial call to SLED, those cases are deemed non-criminal. And they are vetted either, in some cases, they go to DSS, to Adult Protective Services, but more often than not, those cases are vetted to the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman's Office.
Okay.
So they are investigating for things like dignity and respect issue, disrespectful behavior. There may be issues associated with supervision. So when supervision was not carried out, but there was no criminal effect related to neglect. So it is marked as a supervision issue. The staff may have failed to implement the behavior support plan correctly.
Okay.
Not a criminal offense, but it is an administrative issue. In some cases, a home may be cited for administrative oversight because the provider may not have had the supervisor checking in and providing the structure that was needed or providing the schedule according to the individual supervision plan.
Okay.
So those are all non-criminal offenses. The providers take the disciplinary action they feel is appropriate based on what happened. We require that internal review in the non-ICF, non-CRCF settings. The providers have 10 business days to conduct an internal review where they're looking for policy and procedural violations and evidence of employee misconduct. So they're interviewing folks, they're taking statements, they're reviewing whatever written documentation is available through, the THERAP or looking at the behavior support plan, any critical incidents, the GERs, anything. And then you're making a decision about what happened versus maybe what should have happened.
And these are our new investigators that are doing this?
No.
Or just the investigators are just doing it in our facilities, correct?
Mostly in our facilities. They do go out into some community settings, but typically not
Most of them are.
a standard of care allegation.
Okay.
Okay, so the providers they're their employees, so the providers make the determination about the appropriate disciplinary action for those employees. If the standard of care violation is reported for a regional center, then our regional centers determine how they are going to respond and what disciplinary action takes place, or what revision to procedures or what needs to happen in response to that event.
Okay.
It's not always going to result in termination. It may be a suspension. It may be an oral reprimand. It may be more training for that person.
Okay.
Sometimes people are moved because their personalities just don't mix.
Okay. Now, I've got one more question. I know that, when we do have to take that step, and are we, if an individual, okay, I know there's some conflict as to, we find the problem, we refer it to SLED or to the law enforcement agency that's involved. We see it as criminal. What if the law enforcement agency says it's not prosecutable? What are we doing with those cases?
That happens a lot because it's,
That's what I thought. I mean, yeah.
the criminal bar is very high, and there are many situations where our providers identify employee misconduct, but law enforcement does not pursue, they don't follow up with the solicitor's office, or they don't pursue an arrest. The provider has the discretion to terminate that employee solely based on their finding of employee misconduct.
Right.
Okay. So within the DDSN review, we cannot tell providers how to manage their employees.
Right.
We cannot require termination unless there is a substantiated case of abuse.
Unless it's in a DDSN.
Right.
In a regional center. If it's in a regional center, we can obviously do
Right.
that.
But for our contracted providers, that is a provider decision. However, a lot of these reports that get returned, it's because we're looking at the statements, we're looking at the documentation, the person's plan, and we're seeing those inconsistencies. So we're pushing back to the providers to make sure they're addressing those inconsistencies and developing a plan to close the loop on that allegation.
Okay. Questions?
I just have a quick question on the new proposed changes that are adding more layers to like the verbal abuse and adding. I mean, that's going to add to the reporting and the review and obviously the time and effort. I mean, are you guys good to handle more work like that? That's going to take a lot of process.
That is a concern throughout the system. Back in 2017, we made some changes to our policies, particularly related to critical incidents, where we were no longer going to require a lot of incident types to be reported formally as a critical incident. They would remain in thereof as what's called a general event report. Based on the new proposals from CMS, all of that is coming back into the critical incident system. And I think it's important to note, in South Carolina, our system is quite unique in that we have the Omnibus Adult Protection Act that requires all of the residential reports to be reported to SLED, and then you have kind of a decision tree for whether things get vetted to the ombudsman or to local law enforcement or DSS or the AG. In other states, it's all called a critical incident. It's a singular directive, if you will. So that's created some confusion in our system because we have operated with 3 separate directives up to this point, and now we're trying to go into one to match pretty much what every other state does. So that's one source of confusion. But for the workload, we tried to to divert a lot of that to the GERs several years ago. Now we're talking about putting it back in the system. So that's general event reports, which are a not as critical event, if you will.
Someone falls and gets bruised. That's a GER. That wouldn't necessarily be an employee's fault. It was a trip and fall kind of situation, but it has to be checked out because they're bruised. Nobody saw them do it kind of thing. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Injuries of unknown origin have always been a requirement to be reported to SLED and to go through the abuse system because we want to rule out abuse.
Right.
But when there are falls, we know it was a fall. Whenever there were injuries, illness, whenever there were, again, less critical types of events, the provider could record that through VERA and the general event reporting system. Now with all of that coming back through the critical incident system, that is going to create workforce challenges for the providers, as well as significantly expand the role that we have at DDSN, because it's probably going to triple the number of reports we have coming into our system. And right now we have one full-time employee who's reviewing all of that. You know, we're looking at adding a second person very soon, but there will be a bit of a challenge in providing timely responses to the providers as that increase in reporting starts to come in. And again, OAPA, the Omnibus Adult Protection Act in South Carolina, does not define verbal or emotional abuse, but it is defined in the CMS definitions. So we will have to work very closely with the State Law Enforcement Division on how they are going to handle those reports, since it's not part of their current legislation.
It's a shame to me that that's not, that this issue we're talking about is not a state issue and they make it a federal issue. So do you know why,
So you saying the legislation needs to be changed to come into line? I mean, I'm just checking, to come into line with the federal legislation? Is that the problem kind of?
I don't know that the legislation needs to be changed. It's probably more of a procedural issue in knowing how the State Law Enforcement Division will handle reports of verbal abuse.
Okay.
Because it's not defined in the statute that they follow currently.
Okay.
They may, I would imagine, based on history, those reports would be vetted at the State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. That's not a DDSN decision, that's a SLED decision, so I don't want to speak for them, but that's part of the conversations that we'll be having.
Okay.
do you know what's brought on CMS doing all these changes? Do you think it's a new director at CMS in the federal level and it's Biden related and that kind of thing? Or is it something else? Or has it been supposed to be going on for years and they haven't done it yet?
I think it's been building for years. Back in 2014, CMS published a technical guide for the home and community-based waiver operations. And they stepped up the monitoring of incident systems then. In 2017, they published best practices for those systems. In 2019, they added a little more to it. Starting in 2020, late 2020, they started talking about verbal abuse. So it's been building over time. There were also Office of Inspector General reports that were completed starting back around 2017 or 18. They started mostly in some northeastern states. They did complete a review in South Carolina, and our reports were very similar, where CMS found that there were, depending on the state, there could have been hundreds or there could have been thousands of emergency room visits with diagnosis codes related to injuries that could have indicated abuse, but there were no reports in the system. So I believe that was used as a basis also to kind of expand the scope of what needed to be reported.
If, and this is a question that I'm getting from family members in the regional centers, if an incident is reported and we've got a critical incident report, can family members get those reports to see what's happening with their family, with their loved ones? How would they go about getting a copy of that?
They would need to reach out to the provider agency.
So even at our regional centers, who would they contact?
They would work through the facility administrator to get that.
They should be able to get that if they have to be there what, they have to be their guardian?
They won't be able to get it until it's complete, because sometimes they want the report in the middle of the process.
Okay, so we have to wait till the process is complete and then they can actually receive that. Okay.
It's also important to note that
I think a lot of
personnel
families,
actions are
Yeah.
not going to be released.
yeah,
And sometimes families want to know what happened with employees, and that's not something that can be shared.
I think it's frustrating because, a lot of times, there's an incident, we refer it to law enforcement and then they don't do anything. So there's nothing we can do.
And we get blamed.
And then we get blamed because law enforcement chooses not to do anything, or y'all get blamed. I hate that, but y'all get blamed.
We as a group.
Yeah, and I think that's a sad situation that things are even happening that we have to worry about. But what's sadder is that law enforcement's not taking action when we take them something and say, if we think it's serious enough to take it to them, it should be. I struggle with that. I struggle with that. And it took me a long time to understand that. And I know families are extremely confused about that. They're like, we filed an incident, there was an incident filed, and I say, yeah, and we filed the report, but right now it's with law enforcement and we can't do anything with it until they tell us what they're gonna do.
Right, and we're at the mercy of those agencies who are conducting the outside investigation. And they have so many competing priorities that, sometimes they don't get to the reports that we make as quickly as we might like. But from our area, we really push the providers to look at the policy and procedural violations and employee misconduct, because those are decisions that they can make.
Other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I have, so for the communication, like if something happens in the communication, like let's say that there's an incident that perhaps then leads to an arrest, and obviously that would be made public. That communication should come to departments, should come to the commissioners, probably before it gets to the news outlets.
Yes.
It's important.
The short answer is yes.
There was definitely something that happened recently that I know we were not informed of.
So there was an arrest that hit the media last night. And that as of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, SLED had not published anything on their website. So there's that. We know we do get a heads up when there are arrests that are initiated by the state law enforcement division, which 9 times out of 10, that means the regional centers. Occasionally, local jurisdictions will request the assistance of SLED with an investigation. And in those cases, we may get a heads up from SLED as well. When local law enforcement entities are making the arrest, I typically do not find out about them until they're in the paper, unfortunately. The local law enforcement agencies may notify the particular provider in that county, or they may not. That's been very.
The one that's hit the media this morning, I think 5 media sources have covered it already. Did you see that? I had not heard anything about that one, but was that a SLED case? I haven't read them all. I just see that they're coming through my phone as we're sitting here.
Yes, that was a case for a regional center.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Rawlinson,
Yes.
can you hear me? It's Robin. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it looks like according.
Go ahead.
It appears that this individual accused was terminated on April 28th. So SLED didn't issue their press release till yesterday. So
Okay.
I was just curious my question was, were any commissioners informed about this? But it appears that we weren't, from the discussions that I'm hearing so far. So that's it.
So as a point of clarification, the employee was terminated based on internal review, revealing policy or procedural violations or employee misconduct, not terminated based on substantiated A&E.
Okay.
And that you clarified there's a difference between the two.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, commissioners? Do we have a policy that says how we handle that stuff? Is there a policy?
But informing us?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a direct policy.
You normally email once we.
Yeah.
We normally email. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
But
a,
we didn't get.
You didn't get it
triggered
till late.
Yeah,
Um,
we didn't get it.
Yeah,
So we don't, I'm gonna speak for me.
that's fine. Go
Because
ahead.
It's
Go
my
ahead.
responsibility to inform you.
But they didn't know,
inform
you didn't
you
know it till
until-
it happened.
I
mean,
know.
Yeah.
Because they don't want it out public knowledge
Sure.
before they release it. So,
Sure. I want commissioners to know I didn't just not call you.
no, Commissioner Robinson wasn't informed because I hadn't got triggered yet, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't just not call you, I promise. Because usually if it happens, Constance.
And
Normally the process we followed, you and I followed,
I'll call
or
you.
Dr. Fry, they'll call, Constance will call me, say, okay, it's coming, call the commissioners. So I'll call each one of you individually and say, be aware this is gonna hit the media, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't get notified. So there's nothing we could really do about that. Okay. Anything else?
It's very informative.
And thank you. We appreciate it. I know it's a hard job and we appreciate what you do. All right. Update on Sage Squirrel from Harley.
Morning, commissioners. I just have some brief updates on our strategic planning process and vendor Sage Squirrel Consulting, as well as our level of need assessment vendor Edmetric. So for strategic planning updates, Sage Squirrel Consulting has scheduled 2 virtual listening sessions that specifically target person supported and their family members. These are scheduled for May 18th and May 22nd. So one is this afternoon, the other is on Monday evening. As of last week, about 40 to 50 individuals or family members were registered. And so hopefully that number will grow as we get closer to the actual events. Those invitations were shared by advocacy organizations and other state partners that work very closely and directly with individuals with disabilities or have individuals with disabilities serving on their councils. In addition, DDSN has received and we are reviewing priorities summarized by Sage Squirrel Consulting from their conversations with partner agencies and organizations, persons supported and their families, as well as the in-person session that was that occurred in January of this year. And so that information will help provide foundational structure to the strategic plan with regards to goals and objectives. You'll have any questions on strategic planning before I move on to the next update?
What's the next step in that and when will we be involved again?
I am not exactly sure. I know that they've been very, very committed to collecting input from persons supported and their families. We've talked about how vital it is to have that information really drive our strategic plan. Using that Charting Life Course framework really is focused on people and what it means to live their best life. And so getting that input is really important and we hope will really drive and be the primary focus for the strategic planning session, not session, but the strategic plan itself. However, once we get through those and follow back up with them regarding the priorities, I'll have more information on next steps. And so we'll share that with the commission.
yeah, maybe we could do that next month, because I thought they had a specific plan of when they wanted to do that thing.
It's just fluctuated slightly given the information that they're receiving from persons supported and their families, as well as our partners and partner organizations and other advocacy organizations. So they've sort of shifted, they've really decided, and with communication with us, to really target collecting as much of that information as possible. So it's sort of shifted the timeline. So that's really where we are right now.
Good. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
Please.
How many people did you say registered for today's listening session, Harley?
I don't have the information by session. As of last week, I think it was the 10th of May, about 40 to 50 individuals or family members had registered for both combined.
Okay. And were case managers given the information to share with families?
Yes, the notice went out to all providers, including case management providers.
I do know I never received any invitation.
I didn't either.
Did you get
I'm just
invitation,
curious.
Michelle, as a
I
person?
did not. We sent it out to the providers. It's not for DDSN staff specifically. I'm gonna sit on and just listen, but it's really
I'm
for,
saying our provider didn't, because we have I have a child that's.
understood, yeah, but it went out to all the providers. So I think it was a comprehensive list of providers, so I apologize for y'all not receiving that.
I mean, we're just in 3 different parts of the state, and I just wanted to make that.
But basically it was the provider's decision whether they took it out from there or not, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, I
Did
think
we
it
put anything on social media regarding it or any kind of publicity about it personally, like a press release or anything else that would give additional information out to the community?
Too bad we
For
don't have
people
our
that might
media. It's too bad we don't have our social media guru here to tell us.
So I do not think so. However, I can ensure that the listening session for Monday gets posted, so that people at least have the opportunity to register for that one. That one is scheduled for 6 to 7 PM, so it's in the evening. So
That'd be good.
it might be too late for today, but I'll be happy to get the other one out there.
That'd be great. I think, just a lot of families, there's a lot of families out there that call us, and I would like for them to be able to have some input, but if they're not getting notified, it won't help, So anyway. just thought-
Absolutely. I understand and definitely will consider that moving forward. And I'll be sure to get the information for the May 22nd session on social media.
That's great. Thank you, Harley. Anything else? Commissioners, any other questions? What else we got, Harley?
Really quickly, I have an update on our level of need assessment, contractor Edmetric. So DDSN and DHHS attended a demonstration that was hosted by Missouri to showcase their homegrown, meaning they developed it internally, level of need tool, the Missouri Adaptive Ability Scale, or MOS, that occurred in late March 2023. As part of Edmetric's review of tools, this was one of the tools identified. DDSN specifically was impressed with the simplicity of the tool and the tool delivery. The fact that the tool is a discrimination tool rather than a tool for service planning or service assessment. So it fits our needs to a great extent and was one of the ones that we thought was a good option for South Carolina. So as part of that review of tools or reviewing that summary of tools, Edmetric's also been working on drafting a plan for piloting a tool in South Carolina. Still haven't made the decision of what tool that is because we are still awaiting some additional clarifying information from Missouri. And we'll be working with DHHS to make a final decision, determination, recommendation about which level of need assessment to pilot in South Carolina.
Questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question, Commissioner
Rob.
Blackwood. What is the status on the co-op training for providers that we approved sometime last year? I've had some providers ask me about that training program, and I just was curious what the status was on that.
I think it got pushed back due to our rushed desire to solicit residential providers to support children. And so that's been a priority, I think, for the agency at this point, but I can start working on that. And we'll bring it up at the monthly provider meeting on Monday to see, kind of get a feel for exactly what they would like to see, the types of co-ops that they would like to have offered. And then I can work to get those out to providers as an option.
Right.
Next month to see how it went.
Yeah. All right, anything else, commissioners? Okay, thank you, Harley. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate the update.
Yes, very good update. All right, new business, Quincy. Quincy, have you settled in yet?
Settled in.
You're here for the long haul with us?
That's what I hear.
Well,
I
bless
hope
your
so.
heart. Bless your heart. We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Good morning, y'all. I wanted to update you on the spending plan. Section 5, you'll see the year-to-date performance of the adopted fiscal year 23 spending plan in the amount of $939 million. Through April, the agency spent approximately $271 million in agency cash. The direct fee-for-service Medicaid billing expenditures through April were approximately $546 million. So to date, the agency is currently on target with agency cash spend projections. And we're over about 3.72% on the DHHS fee-for-service expenditures. This variance is going to continue to increase the remainder of this year, like I've told you guys each month, that they're due to the rate increases that we've seen this fiscal year for those home and community-based services.
Okay.
That's what I have on the spending plan.
And that'll be reevaluated then this year for the new budget we're
next
gonna
fiscal
have and all that sort of thing, so we'll be able to fix that, right?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
I'm saying we have a new fiscal year coming up, so that'll be able to be fixed, because we can reevaluate what those prices will be and things like that.
Exactly. We'll be able to hopefully estimate. But, HHS, they continue to do, updates to services, combining procedure codes, combining services, increasing rates. So it's a moving target because we don't know, when they're going to do some things and when CMS is going to approve for them to do some things. So it's kind of tracking a moving target, but we'll do our best.
Any questions? Robin? David?
No, I'm good.
I need a motion.
No,
to-
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
Motion to approve the financial update.
So moved.
Let me ask one thing before we.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Sorry, man, one second.
Yeah, questions?
Discussion. I
Discussion.
just wanted to ask one
Okay.
thing.
Yes.
How long, obviously, we're close to the end of the fiscal year, so how long after June 30th will we have the final for expenditures and all for this full year?
So we usually have an extended closeout. The CG's office gives us to the 14th or so to get agency expenditures in. So our agency cash kind of won't be final until around July 14th. However, the HHS expenditures, those are based on weekly interfaces where they pay providers. So that happens every Tuesday. So the Tuesday before the last day of the month, we'll have that finalized. So we'll sneak it in for the next commission meeting right in the nick of time, I think. So if there are any, like, or not the next one, but one in July, but if there are any variances, they'll be pretty small, immaterial, because we'll be doing journal entries back and forth, but because we have until the end of July to get those things done, so.
And I just want to see your efforts to get us the summary stuff that I had asked for a while back, and all that looks very good, and I just anxious to update that at the end of the fiscal year for this year. But I'm very thankful for that. It's very helpful.
So whenever we get those deadlines from the CGs, we'll know when the carry forward deadline is, and so we'll be able to have all those amounts, and I'll update you guys on that and send the spreadsheets out.
Good work, Lindsay. We appreciate it. Cost reports are good.
Cost reports, we had a meeting over at HHS probably 3 weeks back where we were discussing cost reports and kind of the new process for the agency. So we are kind of going into a new process, a new cost report, because we're not doing the waiver cost reports anymore. Those are kind of on the providers now. We're not having to put all 40 DSM boards into our cost report. So it's different. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier on us because we don't have to deal with 40 different financial statements, 40 different CPAs, or, the way they do things. So it'll be easier, but it's just different. So we have to get.
So we're basically moving them to where they're more, they're private providers pretty much at this point.
Fee-for-service has kind of changed the relationship with the agency. So we're kind of going down that path and helping them out as much as we can. And
Good.
hopefully HHS is helping them on their side as well. So we can all at the end of the day report our cost and, get the rate that is appropriate for our consumers.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. All right, we have a motion and a second on approval of the financial spending plan versus actual expenditures. Any other discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Hearing None, the motion carries and, the spending plan is approved. Constance, do you have a director report? It's just not on the agenda. I'm gonna need a motion to amend an agenda.
No.
Thank you, Quincy.
Is it on a different one? Because it's not on the one that I've got with the tabs on it.
We don't have an executive director report on there.
Yeah, on the one that's in the book. It's not-
That's published, it is.
Okay, on the one that's published, it is on there. Okay, let me make y'all aware, on the report, on the agenda that's in your book, it's not showing the executive director's report at 13, but on the one that is published, it does have a 13 on it. There is an executive director's report. So I do want y'all, the commissioners, to be aware that that is on the report, the agenda that's published online. Okay?
We've met our requirements. We don't have to vote or anything.
Okay, okay, all right, good. All right, well then, I'm gonna turn it over to our esteemed executive director, Ms. Constance Holloway, and let her give us a director's report.
So in honor of Employee Appreciation Month, I'd like to continue our trend of spotlighting longtime staffers who have reached significant milestones within our agency. This month, I'd like to spotlight Eric Jacobs, who works at the Midland Center. Eric is celebrating 30+ years with DDSN. Eric started as a DSP on May 4th, 1992 at the Midlands Regional Center. He has worked as a residential assistant from 2013 to 22. In 22, Eric joined the recreation department where he helps plan and provide leisure activities and trips for the consumers. Eric says, I really enjoy making a difference in the consumers' lives. They appreciate even the smallest gestures you do for them. I particularly enjoy special events like prom, Christmas, and May Day parades with my consumers. If my consumers are happy, I'm happy. I would also like to take the time to mention the passing of a longtime agency employee, Kathy Browder. Kathy was an DDSN autism administrator and evaluator in the PD region for over 30 years. Kathy passed away last week, and I, along with all DDSN staff, pass along our condolences to Kathy's family and friends. Kathy was an awesome trailblazer in the ASD world. She had developed the DDSN autism training modules, provided in-home consultation, designed model ASD classrooms, and helped initiate the CEU process for teacher recertification within South Carolina Department of Education. Kathy always led by example and provided encouragement and support to the families she worked with, as well as her co-workers. She was a wonderful mentor, colleague, and friend. Next, I would like to delve into some agency updates on employment. Our employment and day services programs have resumed in-person counterpart meetings. The topics for meetings were derived from a survey sent out to providers last fall indicating areas of need. This is also a time that providers can get together to brainstorm about difficult cases and creative programming. The Autism Division has been very busy with events, trainings, and seminars. Autism Director Stephanie Turner hosted information sessions at the Adventure Sensory Night and Accessibility Morning at South Carolina State Museum. She's also held 3 crisis intervention trainings with law enforcement, fire department, and detention facilities statewide. She also hosted autism resource training at 2 regional medical centers. You were also a couple weeks ago at the convention center.
Oh, the Hopes and Dreams Conference. They let me present there. That was the R2I2.
And the reason I know you were there, my sister texted me, she was there and said, there's a Stephanie Turner here and she's awesome. And I remembered that and forgot to note that in the report. The communications divisions participated in multiple events statewide, including the Disability Awareness Merit Badge Clinic with Scouts VSA, Strides for Autism Walk, MUSC Spark in the Park, and Columbia Wave Fest. Finally, the Columbia Fireflies and DDSN co-hosted Autism Awareness and Sensory Safety Night at Sacred Park for more than 4,000 baseball fans. Next, I'd like to mention some of the exciting things happening in our regional centers. Coastal Regional Center recently installed an industrial power-coated benches across campus. These benches will provide both staff and residents with a safe and comfortable place to sit while enjoying the outdoors. The center continues ongoing improvement projects, including the painting of the interior of Highlands Building 510, renovating Highlands Building 110, and finishing the renovation of Hillside Building 420. Midlands Regional Center hosted a very successful May Day parade. with many community participants such as the Richland County Police Department, Columbia Fire Department. They even had a visit from USC's mascot, Cocky. Millen's Employee of the Year, LaToya Tillman, who you met today. She works at Millen Center, and many others. The parade was followed by a barbecue and a picnic. Whitten Center sent 6 athletes to compete in the South Carolina Special Olympics Summer Games this past weekend at Fort Jackson here in Columbia. The consumers competed in events such as baseball, bowling, and swimming. All had a wonderful time at the competition. In our regional centers, we have spearheaded an internship program. We have received thus far 85 applicants for those internships, with 79 meeting the minimum requirements for employment with all regional centers. The internship program is designed to bring a wealth of expertise and activities for our consumers in areas such as art, physical education, music, while allowing college students to earn credit towards their professional careers. So when you go out to visit our regional centers this summer, and hopefully we'll be able to extend that into the fall, you'll see a lot of college students, a lot of young faces being acclimated to what we do in our regional centers. Finally, on another note, I would like to mention that we are having a provider meeting on Monday. Harley, am I correct to note that as of today, there have been no questions or topics sent in for Monday's meeting? So as a reminder, I would just like to remind anybody that any providers that may be listening by the close of business tomorrow, if you could have those questions or topics emailed, there's a particular email box.
Forum agenda FAQ, is that correct? Forum agenda FAQ at ddsn.sc.gov.
So we can be prepared to discuss anything you'd like to discuss on that Monday.
Repeat that, it's forum.
Forum agenda FAQ.
Okay, forum agenda FAQ.
Forms and the ampersand and agenda.
Okay.
FORUMS.
Okay.
Forms.
All right.
And agenda.
All right. Does everyone understand that?
I think I did.
Okay.
The providers know it. They've
Right,
submitted.
okay,
Yeah,
the
so
providers have it, that's
know
all
it.
that matters. That's all that matters. As long as they've got it. I was like,
Providers, it's the same email address where you typically email to let us know what topics you may want on the agenda. Finally, I want to highlight, we've done a great job of highlighting our regional centers, but I also want to highlight our central office. We celebrated, we've been all month celebrating Employee Appreciation Day. We started off with an ice cream truck about 2 weeks ago. I personally enjoyed the ice cream truck. I went out there twice. Yesterday we had barbecue. I did not indulge in barbecue twice. I almost did, but I couldn't hang. And next week, I believe we are having a coffee truck. I want to particularly highlight our HR department, who has done wonders and done a lot of work within the last, they start planning as early as January. They started having conversations with me about Employee Appreciation Day. So I want to highlight their hard work and all the hard work of all the individuals across the state that keep DDSN moving and completing our mission. So your work doesn't go unnoticed. I know particularly within the central office, the executive staff has been working night and day. And I also want to make a special note of that to let them know that I appreciate all of their hard work. I just need Quincy to stay out of the building at nighttime because he has a particular thing about coming here on the weekend.
It's called dedication. That's a
I
good
gotta
thing.
keep my CFO safe.
It's a good thing to have dedication.
Safety reasons.
Safe, yeah.
How is that?
Good, it's better. So thank everyone for all your hard work. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Okay.
That's it for me.
All right, commissioners, do you have questions for Constance? Anybody? Constance, we appreciate your hard work. You know, you've been working extremely hard on a lot of different projects, and we have a lot going on, as you all saw from the list that I have been trying to track for the last 2 years. There's a lot going on. So if you all have anything, like I said, please make sure to let Constance know so that they can get, so that we can get updates as to where we are on whatever projects you had on your agenda. If there's no further business, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Our next regular meeting is June the 15th, 2023 at 10 a.m. here at DDSN.
So moved.
Have a motion, a second.
Second.
That's a second on the floor. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, hearing none, motion carries and we are adjourned.